Hello and welcome to SteveKnows. You had voted on this topic, so I'm going to go over some footage that developers have been releasing and Meta has released as well, so we can go over and discuss the Quest visuals. How are the graphics going to look on the Quest 3 compared to the Quest 2? The Quest 3 is supposed to have 2 times the graphical power thanks to its XR2 Gen 2 chip. Bit of a mouthful, but it has to render at a higher resolution and a slightly higher field of view. So what differences will it actually make? And also, I have a leak on a through the lenses video for its pass-through and a developer video of pass-through with the Quest 3 as well. So let's check out 7, maybe 8 examples of the Quest 2 versus the Quest 3 visuals and a pass-through comparison with the Quest Pro. That is enough chin wagging. Let's get started. So in The Walking Dead, you see so much more detail in the environmental textures. It looks gritty and has more contrast and shadows on the wall. On Quest 2, it looks rather flat. Moving up to the statue, you see how shiny it is in areas where it's got bodily fluids all over the place, and how the candlelight causes shiny reflections off of it. It's almost romantic. Even the way the candle glows is more natural. The colours also feel like they've got some life to them. When we get to the outside area, the reduction in fog and the increase in virtual assets make the world seem more alive, yet obviously dead because it's zombies. There is also a larger draw distance that we can see here being displayed in this scene. Reloading the gun, the barrel looks the same, but the floor has more colour and texture, and the hand on the revolver has some inconsistencies on it rather than just thumb creases. The assets themselves, though, don't seem at first glance to have many polygons added to them. So are they using the same models but updating the textures? Up close, this shot, it doesn't show much of an asset update on the character, but the background, the environment, it looks more abundant. We see more foliage, more details on the car lighting, shadows, and the colours are popping. Moving on to Guardians Frontlines. I played this game before Fast Travel took it on, and I adore this game. From the first scene, we see much more foliage with the grass, and the colours are also very different. If you look at the tree, it's much more saturated. There seems to be rain here as well, adding some environmental additions like weather to make the world feel real. In the snow, this shot, we also have more grass, but we have a blizzard to add some life to the world again. But not much difference in the existing assets that we see on Quest 2 in this shot. This wide shot, at first glance, it was hard to see much difference beyond the colours, but shadows are now being cast from objects in the scene, and the ice looks to be reflecting light with white peaks of exposure, and this carries through into the icy floor. Very, very nice. The gunshot here is just beautiful. It speaks for itself. Dare I say anything else? This shot of the hub portal is completely different. Night and day in this shot. There is much greater detail in the virtual asset here. The model is just completely different. It has light reflections, crisper edges, and ambient lighting. The close-ups of these puddles, which are reflecting light, look fantastic. The Quest 2 is a dry, barren wasteland in comparison, and we want things wet. On to Zenith, or Zenith, the MMO title that took the VR space by storm on its release day. But back then, the environments were so large and it was running on Quest, so they also felt empty. They weren't great. With the Quest 3 enhancements, though, we looked to get reflections as shown in this opening scene. The previous version looked like a matte block of concrete. The platform reveal on Quest 2 is also bright. Is it overcompensating for something? It feels much more grounded and realistic in the Quest 3 device, and it has much greater contrast to that blue that's running through it. Outside though, the world looks much more active and real, with the grass moving in the wind. The fact that there even is grass, flying ships in the sky, but look how exposed the building is in the distance. On Quest 2, that seems excessive. I also caught breeze waves on Quest 3 that I did not see on Quest 2. This next scene is night and day. The pathways seem naturally stamped out on Quest 3. The grass is actually grass and not a green blob. The hillside also looks less bare and has much better colouring. The draw distance in this one though is shown once again in this shot. You can see much more architecture on the cliff top. It looks way less blurry and the shading is so much better. This last shot, honestly, I don't see much change apart from the colouring. Golf Plus posted a comparison video on Twitter and it looks amazing. The grass looks so fuzzy. exactly like it should, and not a solid flat environment. The hillside also looks like it has much better shading, so it looks more realistic. These shots have gone the other way compared to other games and have desaturated the colours and added variation in the greens, so the grass looks much more real. Now onto Expire 2, the classic James Bond-esque game in VR, but instead you play as an agent using VR tech to embody a bot. Pretty cool. So the differences in the first scene are not easy to catch. The Quest 3 looks to have some bloom lighting going on to give the effect of the overhead light shining in a dark space, but the Quest 2 version doesn't have that, and things look sharper because of it. This shot of the gloves though, my goodness, the detail and the textures on your hands on Quest 3, it's like a PC VR avatar. That looked fantastic. In this shot, I did think they got the headsets the wrong way around. But then it changes angle and you can see the Quest 3 has weather to ground the environment in the real world. We have a snowstorm. Here I didn't see much difference though, although the enemies are no longer very pale. The Quest 3 is almost hazed out due to the weather. But I would be lying if I didn't say I really do like seeing a snowflake fall every now and again. It makes such a difference to immerse you in this world. This shot with the crates, you can see shading improvements on the Quest 3, on the crate and the enemy. The scanning tool as well highlights tons of data points being accessed, much like the Quest will do, or the Kinect videos from way back in the day. The Quest 2 version, you get none of these cool effects. It's just a tone change, which is a bit... well, it changes my tone. Figment XR. This next video is Figment XR that is showcasing the Quest 3 pass-through, and you'll see assets interact with the world thanks to the depth sensor and the color pass-through and the virtual assets. It looks pretty darn nuts. Seeing the shadows move on the real environment as you'd expect them to is kinda trippy. The pass-through here though, the lighting looks very good, and you still see some lack of quality if you zoom in these darker areas, but it is still very good. Then, just before the pass-through, the lens video, there is Red Matter 2, a peak of Quest 2 visual fidelity. We see a zoomed-in shot of low rendered resolution, and the Quest 3 renders it in much greater detail. I love this zoom-in shot because on the Quest 2, the aliasing is dancing around, and on Quest 3, it's there, but it's much more subtle. There's much more detail and less blur. They also boast 4K textures on Quest 3, which is a 16 times improvement over the Quest 2. Just insane! There's also dynamic shadows to ground assets into reality, but in this game, it creates this artistic style to the visuals that looks amazing, almost like a 3D anime. They were just completely showing off though when we see this transformation shot and the light going through all of those small gaps and casting shadows. Just insane. Red Matter absolutely flexing its optimization skills, and I cannot wait to try this on Quest 3. It looks like a PC VR level experience. Now through the lens videos that were leaked that some cheeky person captured on their phone in an ordinary store by the looks of it and started checking out the Apple Ultra Watch through the device. Aside from a lens looking through a lens and an upload compression, then download compression, then uploading again, this does better represent what my experience was in bad lighting conditions. So I think it'll be a little better than this as we saw in the Figmin video, but it's very impressive that you're able to read and use the device with this headset on. Warping can still be seen, but it is very up close. It's not this bad when you're using it in a real world setting. And I did hear they're going to release a day one patch to improve on this. Someone also then dropped a side-by-side video of the Quest Pro pass-through and the Quest 3 pass-through using the eye test that the optometrists use. So it looks like I can make out all of the green, so the optometrist would say, I have 20/30 vision in Quest 3. That is not bad. So there are some common themes among these visual updates, and basing this more off the developers' releases over Meta's footage, there is going to be upgrades with shadows to make things feel more grounded and real in the environment. There's going to be much better lighting. Materials will shine and reflect that lighting. Environments will be more abundant with assets. Mostly grass in the examples that we've seen, but it makes such a difference in making that world feel alive, feel immersive, and adding these small texture improvements that we're going to see as well. It may be a very good visual upgrade compared to the Quest 2, but I need to get inside the headset to see it for myself and feel it. This is VR. So thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you found this interesting and you're getting rather excited for your new device if you just pre-ordered one, or you're along for the hype train ride, or just trying to educate yourself. So please subscribe. So please subscribe. I'll obviously have more content. I'm always pumping out these videos, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Have a great week. Happy gaming. Good day.